A recent 7.1 PTR build revealed new details about what will happen in the final showdown with Gul'dan in the Nighthold raid in Mythic difficulty. I hope you're ready for some spoilers. Okay. From the PTR, the following happens in the last phase of the Gul'dan encounter. When Gul'dan reaches 10% health remaining, Archmage Khadgar attempts to return Illidan's soul to his dormant body. Unbeknownst to Khadgar, a dark, outwardly presence was filling Illidan's mortal shell, and the consequences of Khadgar's actions incite deadly consequences. This sounds pretty cool, and for lore fanatics or any fan who feels invested in the story of our favorite demon hunter, it's a must-see event, but not everyone may have the opportunity to see what's coming firsthand. This is not the first time lore has been driven only in the most difficult content in the World of Warcraft, but is it okay for Blizzard to create this sort of all-important content for a minority of the minority? Or is the delivery of this special encounter not as exclusive as we think it is? Hey, it's Sol with news updates and analyses, and today I want to talk briefly about this special kind of content that only Mythic players may get to see. This special encounter isn't the first, and likely not the last of its kind, but I want to explore this design and preempt the complaints players are likely to have about this with a little understanding, speculation, and feedback for the Blizzard team. It's no secret that there's always been some sort of exclusiveness for WoW's most skilled raiders, from titles to mounts to realm-wide notifications to worldwide notoriety. Once, the opportunity to raid alone was the pinnacle of PvE content. But since then, it's evolved with a growing subscriber base of different demographics, skills, and schedule. Today's raiding suits these playstyles, and at the highest difficulties have been encounters and events that those below do not see until it's on YouTube, or the content itself has become trivial. We won't go through the whole list, but I'll cite a few examples. Completing the Bastion of Twilight in its hardest difficulty unlocks Sinestra, an extra boss. In the Firelands, Ragnaros rises from her bathtub to kick off an additional encounter phase. Completing the Throne of Thunder in its hardest difficulty unlocked Ra-Den. In Highmaul, players encountered Cho'Gall during the Imperator Margok encounter. In Hellfire Citadel, Archimonde's final phase plays out very differently from other difficulties. These bosses and encounter mechanics offer a bit more story and spice that many raiders don't get to experience firsthand. Characters like Ra-Den and Sinestra would have remained obscure and pretty much unheard of if it weren't for the Chronicles book, or in Ra-Den's case, being an elemental shaman. What makes the Mythic Gul'dan fight special is that it includes Illidan, a character far more revered than Cho'Gall, and arguably more popular than Gul'dan or Khadgar, even though those characters predate Warcraft 3 and the Demon Hunter. What's more is that there's a lot of hype surrounding Illidan. Whether or not you care, you know who Illidan is. After all, he's on the box. He's recently had a book with his namesake. Players are on a questline to revisit his past and try to shape his future even though he is dead. Those are opportunities available for all players, however its climax is exclusive to top raiders. This is different from the earlier scenarios I mentioned. Players didn't build up to the Ra-Den experience, and there isn't a strong connection between the grand quest against Cho'Gall and our final, brief encounter with him at the end of Highmaul. Blizzard framed a big chunk of the Legion narrative around Illidan Stormrage, but only a small percentage of players will see its end firsthand. But it doesn't have to be this way, and it might not be designed how we think either. Comparing the easiest raid difficulty against its most difficult is to almost literally describe two different raids. This can't be questioned. We know based on the PTR information that at 10%, the Mythic Gul'dan encounter will take an interesting twist, and players will have to deal with whatever happens next. Who's to say that in other difficulties something similar won't happen? It could be that for heroic and lower difficulties, when the encounter reaches a certain threshold or otherwise ends, the twist will still happen, but it'll play out automatically for players. I'll make up a possible scenario for clarity. Let's say that in Mythic difficulty at 10%, Gul'dan immobilizes the raid. While Gul'dan is distracted, Khadgar attempts to revive Illidan. Illidan's body turns out to be used as an avatar for Sargeras. Khadgar frees the raid and works with players to defeat both the avatar and maybe Gul'dan. In heroic and lower difficulties, upon Gul'dan's defeat, the encounter basically ends. Khadgar appears and attempts to revive Illidan in an effort to prevent the Legion from using him for their own purposes. Again, Illidan's body turns out to already be used as an avatar for Sargeras. Khadgar teleports the raid to a safe distance away from himself and Illidan, and engages. Finally, a cinematic plays regardless of difficulty to present the final conclusion of the Nighthold raid. This wouldn't be very different from the heroic Lich King encounter, which includes an extra phase, but the conclusion of the encounter ends up being the same for all types of players. It's no guarantee, but I have a feeling that this is the direction Blizzard is, or at least should be going. We do still have until next year. Illidan's story is a little too important to miss out on, especially after different mediums have been thrown at us to build it up. If not, Blizzard will have a fragmented story depending on who you ask, and a lot of angry players on their hands. Let's hope things work out in favor for all players, and not get too worked up or worried. Keep calm and stay breezy.